Welcome to the Melanin Jelly Project Conversations, a podcast that celebrates diversity and representation in children's storytelling, entertainment, and edutainment. I am the host, Olunosen Louisa Ivaze. On this podcast, I chat with authors and creators of children's books, entertainment, and edutainment. This is also a collaboration with the Ottawa Black Book Club. Welcome, Carolyn Watson Dubisch. Welcome to our Conversations podcast. We have done this before and we are back here again. Yes. Carolyn is an author and illustrator of 16 books?
17 now.
17 now, okay. So welcome, Carolyn. Tell me about yourself and what inspired you to write these 2 books and to start writing and illustrating in general.
Well, I went to school in New York at the School of Visual Arts, and I found that children's books called to me. I really wanted to study that and children's book illustration. So I spent most of my time there learning to do sequential art, learning to do storytelling and creating stories. Sequential art is different than doing regular, just a painting or just a single image, because you have to do character design, you have to learn to pace a story. So, and telling a story visually is different than telling a story with words, but it's the same practice, and I do have wordless books. Okay. But these 2 books are about Mexico. I currently live in Mazatlán, Mexico, which this one focuses on. It's morning in Mazatlán. And this one is about Dia de los Muertos, which is the Day of the Dead festival here every October. So, yeah. And it's also from a series of books I have called Andy's Adventures, and it's about this little boy, Andy. And I have a activity book coming out in 2 weeks, the Andy's Adventures activity book. So, and I'm working on another book for this series, which is called The Lighthouse Cats of Mazatlán, and it's about the lighthouse here in the city, and it's and the cats that live there, of course. Okay. So, yeah, so that's my journey is kind of 30 years long, so I don't know if I'm going to go into all of that, but I have done a lot of books and a lot of children's books. Okay. For myself, I have my own stories, and for other people, I've illustrated other people's work.
Okay. So you were talking about the morning at Mazatlán, and you mentioned, because I always say that I'm not adventurous with food, but anytime I see a new recipe, I get curious. And you mentioned kile-kiles here.
Yes.
What is kile-kiles, or what are kile-kiles? Kile-kiles are mangoes.
Kile-kiles, I'll go to the page here. Yeah. I put the recipe in the book. It's right. This is the picture. Kile-kiles is it's like breakfast nachos. It's the best way I can describe it. They have it for breakfast in Mexico, all across Mexico, and it's a very, very popular dish. And they heat up the tortillas usually the day before's nachos, and then the tortillas, and then they put it's mostly like pico de gallo and different kinds of sauces, and it's very good, actually. I really like chilaquiles. So it's a kind of they're like moister or wetter than regular nachos. Okay. So some people, if you don't like nachos that are very wet, then you're probably not gonna like chilaquiles, but I do.
Yeah, but looking at the beach here, things happening around the beach, it just reminds me of a typical beach in Nigeria. Nigerian, yes, it reminds me of a typical beach in Nigeria. And I see the tourists here. Anywhere there's something beautiful, you always have tourists. Interesting.
Yes.
Then who are these? Let me see. Banda bands. Who are they?
Okay. The banda. Yes, there you go. Banda is the local music for this region, right here in Mexico. I'm in Sinaloa, and it is very regional, and they have a lot of brass in it, and it's very loud. And the local people here love banda, like they love it. And the tourists are okay. Especially the Canadians, they cannot stand banda.
Is it really loud? That's the music. Is it really loud?
It is. It's very loud, and then the people, the bands walk up and down the beach, and you give them tips, and then they'll just start playing. And sometimes you'll be walking on the beach, and this is where it gets to be too much, where you've got a band over here playing, and then you've got a band over here playing a whole different song, and it can be very loud.
A lot of noise.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, and then I see the fruit vendors. I see Miguel.
Yes.
I see Mario.
Yeah.
How important do you think it is to tell stories? Just simple stories like this, because this is just a regular morning in Mazatlán in Mexico, right? Which is different from a regular morning in Ottawa, where I live. And which is a different morning from New York, where some people live. So how important do you think it is? Because a child reading this will get curious. Oh, this is interesting. I didn't know some mornings were different. I didn't know some children get to run on the beach in the mornings. Right. So how important do you think it is to tell stories that reflect, that just show a different kind of life?
I think it's very important. I think that, not everyone can travel. Not everyone can bring their kids places. A lot of people, for example, I used to live in Phoenix, Arizona. And I met little kids who had never seen the beach. They had never been to the ocean. They didn't know. They didn't know what it was like. And it's very important to see what's out there in the world, how things are different. But then they can also identify with these children. They're these children, and this is what their life is like. I think it's eye-opening for them, and it helps connect them to the rest of the world, which we should all feel that way, connected to everyone else. And I think it is really important to show other places. You're describing Nigeria, and now I'm like, oh, I need to go to Nigeria and see the beach.
we have busy beaches, but I think but through the years, other beaches, to more exclusive beaches, have also been created. So and because you know how the world is, anything that is free is usually abused.
Yes.
So so we have the free beach where everybody just walks and you have all kinds of people. Then there are the more exclusive beaches where you pay money to have access to, and those ones are really, really nice. They're really nice. It's serene. It's clean. Yeah. Okay. So that brings me to Andy and the Mask of the Dead.
Yes.
So, because I had shown you something before, and I'm gonna show you again. When I said I was in San Antonio in June, and I had bought this.
Oh, that's pretty.
So I bought this because I think I had seen something about this festival in a Disney movie, and I still haven't had time to do more research on this Festival of the Dead. So talk to us about it.
Okay. Day of the Dead is the day after Halloween. Halloween is October 31st, so November 1st and 2nd. There's 2 days for Day of the Dead.
Okay.
The first day, okay, I'm not 100%. I think the first day is where they sit in the cemeteries, and then the second day is the Children's Festival.
Okay.
But I'm not 100% on that. It might be the other way around.
No, just give us a summary.
Okay.
So for people who have never heard of it.
Sure. What they do is they're communing with their dead on this festival is a little bit more somber than Halloween. Halloween is all candy, but Day of the Dead, they believe in more than in 2 deaths. They believe in the first death of the body, and the second death is when you're forgotten by the living.
Okay.
So,
No, hold on. The day you're forgotten by the living.
Yeah, by your friends and your family, and by anyone. Like Frida Kahlo, the very famous Mexican artist.
Frida, yes. Yeah.
She's only had 1 death because there's altars to Frida Kahlo every year in all throughout Mexico.
Okay.
So there are, as long as they're on the altar and they're celebrated, and then they have the ceremony within the cemeteries. You can go to the cemeteries here and see people sitting, and they put out food, and they build a whole altar for their loved ones, for people who have passed. And they'll have ancestors going, they'll go pretty far back, to include them in the altar. And I think they do stay there like all night in the cemetery with their, and there are still other things. There's the imagery, that with the candles, and that's part of, I use this because it's for the altars, and the masks, and there's the flowers. There's a lot of imagery connected to the time of year. There's the butterflies, the monarch butterflies. They do their migration this time of year. In Mexico, they come down and then they fill those trees in a certain part, and those are considered to be spirits of their ancestors, and they celebrate the monarchs as well.
Okay.
Which some people do a pilgrimage to see them. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about. When they show up in Mexico, they are like these. There's so many. They just coat the trees. The monarch butterflies. They're actually quite an event to see. It's amazing.
Oh wow!
Yeah, they all come all the way down from Canada, through the United States, and they come to their annual trip to Mexico. I want to go see it, actually. I would love to see it.
No, now that you said it, I'm getting curious now, because I'm going to Google it. I'm going to look it up.
Okay.
Just to see what it looks like. So, do you think it's important to write stories about different traditional practices, or do I call them cultural practices? Because this is not practiced where I grew up. I grew up in Nigeria. This wasn't practiced. What we do for when people pass, you bury them, then there's the burial ceremony, and then there's a 1-year remembrance. Then after that, there's a maybe 5 or 10-year remembrance. But and people actually go all out sometimes. Either sometimes you book mass in church if you're a Christian, or sometimes people do the more, and then you have you either book a mass in church or you have a celebration. We like to party. We love to party. So everybody gets dressed up, and they could call it a celebration of life.
Right. They do. They do repeated memorials, just like you're saying, for their people who've died. From my daughter's boyfriend had a friend who just passed, and he's local. And they went to a wake, they went to a funeral, and a month later they went to another remembrance, and then it kept going. I was surprised. I don't know all the traditions with that, but I do know that they do a lot more funerals than we ever did in North America, in the United States anyway. I don't know all the traditions with it, but they do exactly like what you were saying, where there's more than one service. And then of course there's DJALI'S, where they honor them at that time too.
So how important do you think it is for authors to write such stories?
Oh, I think it's very, very important. I do. I think that learning about DJALI'S is very valuable to understanding world culture. It's one of many cultures that I don't know. I think that it's very educational and enriching for children to get this information, and I think it's also, it is why Disney made that movie. I think it's called Coco, right? Isn't that the one?
I think so. I think it's Coco, yeah, because the movie started with, I think, with her as an old woman, and then it went back in time to talk about, I think that's what it's called, Coco. Yeah, I remember watching it and getting curious and going, oh, okay, I didn't know about this.
Yeah, no, it is. It's very interesting. And anyway, children do like this book quite a bit, and I like to do more about local culture for my books. So.
Okay. So as an author illustrator, does a story determine the style of art?
Yes, actually, for me it does. For this book, I really wanted to show Mazatlán, the city. Okay. So I hired local children. I teach art here too in the elementary school, so often it's my students. But I hired them to pose on the beach and become the characters, and I took photos of them, and then I compile the images that I want and the poses that I want and do paintings of them. Okay. So I wanted it to be realistic, so I needed lots of photos and images of the city and of people on the beach. Okay. To make it be Mazatlán. I wanted, because it's so specific, it's so local.
Okay. Because I know that, I have limited knowledge, but I think since I ventured into writing for children, I started to understand illustration more and styles. And now it seems AI, artificial intelligence,
yes,
seems to be taking over. Or do I use the word taking over? Or people seem to be veering towards artificial intelligence. Yes, last night I was playing around with images, and it's so interesting how all you just do is you just type in a command. Oh, a boy on the beach running with his dog. Describe his hair, describe what you want him to wear. Boom, it appears.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah. And it gave me incredible images. And I was reading about copyright just to know if it's a copyright infringement if you decide to use maybe images generated from AI in your books. And I think, no, you are free to, because it's your design.
Legally right now, yes, you are free to use them.
Yeah, you're free to use them.
They used data scraping techniques to take the portfolios of artists across the internet and train the AI and teach it to mimic and learn to draw that way. My husband's work was used. Some of my work might have been used, but his was definitely used. We can check. But there was never any permissions granted for this, and then And then it also takes away all employment from artists.
Yeah, yes, that was,
like
you know,
30 years of study and work in the industry.
yeah.
So I don't know. I'm not a fan of AI. They're doing the same thing with ChatGPT and authors, you know.
Because I met someone who said to me that when we're talking about books, and he said, well, Louisa, it's great to know that you write children's books. I am also trying to write a series of children's books. And I go, oh, really? He said, yeah, but I'm going to use AI. You know, I'm going to write the books with AI and publish them. And then I said to him, then if you write the books with AI, that means the stories are not from the heart.
Yeah.
Yeah, I said the stories are not, because when I think of stories, I think the first thing, you know, when people approach me, oh, Louisa, can you give us writing tips? We want to write books. I listen carefully. Once I hear, oh, because, you know, we plan to make money, we want to see, that's it. I lose interest. Once you start to talk about money, I lose interest. I agree that publishing is a business. And yes, we all want to make money. But the first thing that gets me in anything I do is passion.
Yeah.
Your passion for it, authenticity, genuineness. Do you want to tell a story from the heart? What impact do you want to have with that story? Right. But I realize these days people are just about, oh, how can we make money? How can we make money? So that's
what I'm learning is that AI can give you a great image, but then you want to take that same boy and have him talk to his father in the next scene. It's very hard to get repeating characters, consistency. That's what I've seen. Also, the hands thing, they're always adding extra fingers.
Then sometimes the legs...
Or there's like 2 fingers and the hands all twisted up.
Yeah, the feet are suspended sometimes. That's what I've noticed. Feet are suspended. So you would see a group of kids, let's say in the playground. Then I don't know why there's always one child hanging somewhere. You can't tell where the legs are. Then I had generated one. I wanted children, you know, at the stream with fishermen. And there was this girl with 4 legs. So yeah, so I think AI too is a bit but what do you think? How do you feel about AI?
I feel very deeply annoyed. I wanted AI to cure cancer, not take my job. That's how I felt about it. Yeah. I mean, I feel like it could. I think it applied in certain ways, it could do great things. But you know, I heard of a lawyer who wanted to use AI to work on this case that he was working on, and he went in and used the material from the AI in court, and basically the AI had made up all these cases that he was citing. They weren't real cases, and he got fired. I mean, I think in the end you have to do your own work. Maybe it will get a lot better, and it is learning very quickly, but right now I think you need to do your own work.
I think AI is it's making the world lazy.
Oh yeah.
When as a student, we would do research, and when I say research, we do authentic research. So you have books, you're going through tons of books, you are making proper references. But it seems now with AI, people just want it done for you. It's just done and you just deliver. But again, I ask, plagiarism, does plagiarism come in here? Because I know back in the day we had something called Turnitin. So you when you write your paper, you feed it in there, and then it highlights. It just shows you the percentage, or it highlights. If there's been plagiarism, it highlights that, so you know. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if people are doing that with the things they get from ChatGPT or other AI. I don't know. I do know that Disney, in the middle of the writer's strike in Hollywood, Disney is now looking into bringing in more AI.
Okay. Oh,
So
wow.
people are losing their jobs. And it's a whole industry. It is so many people, and it's kind of, the nightmare we live in today.
Wow.
So,
So as an author illustrator, what are some of the challenges you like when you decide to write a story now? What are some of the challenges you think author illustrators encounter when trying to put out authentic stories? Because what I'm realizing these days is sometimes when you try to get a literary agent, or sometimes when you reach out to publishers, when I'm trying to submit my manuscript, I'm beginning to realize that a lot of literary agents seem to have a preference for author illustrators, not just authors.
Really?
So I don't know if they don't want to go through the burden of having to search for an illustrator or having to pay an illustrator. So maybe they just want all in one. I don't know.
Oh, I always thought it was easier for people who just wrote.
No, many. So let's say I have looked up 20 literary agents. At least 16 of them prefer author illustrators.
Wow.
Yes. Yeah.
It's changed. I haven't tried to get an agent in a long time. I had an agent. They didn't do anything for me. I left after a year. But when I was first starting, I tried submitting. Back then you could submit without an agent, and I submitted everywhere all the time. I had books that went to committee and almost got published, but after 7 years, I decided to start self-publishing. I did get a lot of work along the way. I mean, I worked in comic books and children's books, illustrating other people's things, and I illustrated textbooks. I worked in magazines, highlights for children, and things like this. I colored some books for Marvel, all kinds of work, but
yeah, talk to us about that. I know you did for Marvel. Which other big company did you work for? Marvel, and who else?
I worked for Star Wars.
Star Wars.
And I did some alien designs for them.
Okay, talk to us about working for those big companies. We dream of that. Yeah, talk to us about.
Okay. Well, Marvel, I was working in a studio that was a coloring studio, and they would send me into the Marvel offices sometimes with the work.
Okay.
It was very tight deadlines. I have worked for I'm also a sculptor, so I have worked for other movie studios and TV shows. And the biggest problem with companies like that is that they contact you and they want it done yesterday.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Like right when they're contacting you. So that's what the main problem is, the time crunch. They're always in a hurry. They want work that is really excellent and really fast. And but then you get paid, and it's worth it.
Okay, yeah. You get paid really well. So so it's worth the sacrifice. It's worth the stress. Okay. So what do you think as an illustrator? What do you wish of? Okay, so I'm looking at self-publishing now, because I know that when big publishers reach out to illustrators, yes, they have that budget. And one day I think I was looking through Facebook, and an author had come on there to say, her budget for her work was less than $500. I think she was just thinking of paying maybe $10 a page or so, and someone said that's an insult. So as an illustrator, what is one thing you wish authors knew before contacting illustrators for work?
Well, I wish they understood that when I take on a children's book, which I do have one out this week from somebody that I illustrated for.
Okay.
The Adventures of Goody and Cookie is Sugar Ant. It's about ants. It's a chapter book. That book took me 3 months to illustrate.
Oh. Okay.
And it's a number of illustrations. Illustrations take a while. They're a little faster now because I have my iPad and I have Procreate.
Okay.
So it goes a little faster now, but I'm doing it more digitally. I do work on paper, but then I bring it into Procreate.
Okay.
But especially when it was paintings, when I was doing a painting, I could do maybe 2 paintings a month.
Oh, wow.
It's a lot slower working on watercolor.
Okay.
So this is the thing, is that it takes a long time, and some people, it's their main source of income.
Okay.
If you're taking 2 to 3 months and getting $500 for the whole job, I can't live on $500.
Yeah.
I'm in Mexico. So you have to understand that you're underpaying someone when you're saying $500. But also, I spent a long time learning my skills. I have a degree. I have worked for a lot of people and a lot of places, and it takes a long time to get your skills to this level, which is why AI is such an insult. It just takes everything you've done and just spits it out, and it's your, I don't know, someday we're gonna watch robots play sports. Anyway.
I mean, now that they have, I saw a supermarket the other day in Dubai that has no staff. So when you walk in, you tap your card at the door, and then you walk into the store, do your shopping, and then you tap again and you walk out. So there's no human, everything is automated.
Even the restocking?
No, so I think people come in to restock maybe at night or early in the morning, but it's just open, no humans, no one in there. So you just do your you tap, do your shopping, tap out, and that's it.
I don't know how much people can exist without purpose, there are no jobs, we have no purpose.
Yeah, because when you go shopping, there's still something about that that back and forth when you're paying for stuff, that chit chat, that banter, oh, how are you doing today? I mean, I hope you had a lovely day. Hope you had a good time shopping. Did you find everything that you needed today? There is something about that. So, and I think we're beginning to lose that. It's like people say, like, I'm thinking of technology. So a lot of people have lost that art of conversation now, because they're used to just being behind, pick up your phone, you are behind your screen, chatting, and that's it.
That's crazy.
Yes. Yes.
That's crazy.
Yes. I miss letter writing. As a child, I used to write letters to my grandfather, and I used to love it. I would write the letters, and then I would put the address, buy the stamp. But now you have email.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I like
it's taking away the beauty, it's taking away the humanity of a lot of things. And like you said, purpose, you mentioned purpose. Yeah. It's taking that. Yeah, it's taking that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, creating stories and sharing them with people is part of my purpose.
Yeah.
And taken over by a robot, I don't know.
So Yeah, so in this time and age or day and age now where robots seem to be the enemy, how do you think illustrators can come together and unite? Because it's a cause. Eventually it's going to be a cause for illustrators to say, you know what, we still want to get paid, we need to eat, we need to feed, we have bills to pay. But with AI now, so how do you think illustrators can work together?
There are organizations you can join. There's the Society of Children's Book Writers and Illustrators. There's the Society of Illustrators. Mm-hmm. I don't know, and there's the Graphic Artists Guild. Okay. And I don't know if these groups are doing anything. They're always just these things that you paid for, and I'm not. I guess I should look into it, because I should find out if they are doing anything, if there is any movement to bring us together and help us in some way. So
okay,
that's the only idea I have, is to reach out to organizations like that.
So what advice would you give any aspiring illustrator if I wanted to go into, because I remember when I started reaching out to illustrators, I was amazed at how expensive they were. I never knew. I just assumed, it's just drawing because I can sketch. Yeah, it's just drawing, you know? And then I started to realize, oh no, it's not just drawing. It takes time. And most of the time, many of them are working on multiple projects. Because the fact that they don't go to work 9 to 5, that is technically their 9 to 5. So, yeah. So what tips or advice would you give an aspiring illustrator?
This is a hard one because the industry is changing really, really fast. My advice right now would be to move to LA.
And we're not in LA.
In that industry, they are striking, they are coming together, and they are making sure that there's going to be rights for creators, that we have rights and that they have rights. And if I were to advise someone, I would say be in New York or LA, one of these two main places for publishing or connected to Hollywood, because they're working to do something about it.
Okay, what about people who don't have access to being in these places? Let's say someone all the way in Nigeria who is interested in illustration. What are some of the things? Do you need to go to school? Do you need to
you go to school.
Yeah.
I think that you can go to school, or you can there's a number of courses online I think you should study. There's a program online that you can sign up for, and it's only like $10 or $12 a month, that has some great programs. And I think I'll have to message you the name of it because I don't remember.
Okay.
But they're very, very good. They have some very good programs as well. But also you could just go to a art school within your own country or online. My husband teaches through the Academy of Art University in San Francisco online, and they have great programs too. And they have career advice and direction, and they try and keep up with the times. So.
Oh, okay. That's very interesting.
That would be the benefit of being in a program.
So how do you develop your style as an artist? Because as a kid, I used to draw. I used to sketch a lot. Once in a while, I still do some sketches, but I'm so busy, I don't have time to sit down and do all of that. So how do you develop your style as an illustrator or as an artist? How do you develop your style?
Mostly it has to do with practice from looking at artists that I really admire. Like Eric Orchard, I like his style. And then I study what they do, and I also try and bring in what I'm doing. I see, the thing is that I'm not a good mimic. So when I look at someone's style, it doesn't come out like their work. It comes out like my work.
Okay.
with an influence from them. So it's very, I study a lot of other artists, and it's not, it doesn't, I don't copy them. I don't want you to think I'm copying, but it's a long, slow process to come up with your own style. It is. And I graduated art school in 1993, so
Okay.
it's taken me a long time.
Yeah. And who is your greatest inspiration when it comes to art?
When it comes to art, I really, really like the work of David Wiesner. He's an artist. Dawn and Audrey Wood are, Dawn is an illustrator and Audrey is his wife. Can you still hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Listener.
They wrote a story called The Napping House, which is one of my favorite children's books. No, sorry, fighting with my cat. Okay.
Let's see the napping house. I'm just Googling to see if I can find any images.
Oh, The Napping House is brilliant.
The napping house, yes.
Oh, there he is.
Interesting. This.
Yeah.
Let me see the napping house. Oh. So pages from the book are being sold as artwork.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think so. That's what I'm seeing now. Okay. Okay. Oh, wow.
Yeah, I've sold original art. You can get a good amount of money for it once it's published.
Oh, wow. Yeah, the napping house.
That one they would make a lot of money selling the Napping House art.
Never heard of it. Okay, the napping house. Oh, wow. Wow. Okay. So, as authors of diverse stories, what are some of how do you think those authors can put their voices out there? Because sometimes the challenge with getting traditionally published many times is you might have a good story, but we forget as writers, because we are so passionate about our work, many times we forget that publishing is a business. And sometimes when you try to get your book published, that if you find an illustrator interested in your work and if you find a publisher interested in your work, they might need you to tweak it a bit because they want to produce what they can sell. Like I've found myself with I've found myself buying some best-selling or award-winning books, and after reading it, I'm wondering, okay, I don't get it. Why?
Why is this?
Yes.
So,
why? Yes. Why?
Best-selling, award-winning. These things happen because they get picked up by. Often the books are good. They're good stories, but it's very much the publishing house has a look they want and a kind of story they want, and your story could be great, but not for them. Is the way they always put it. So. And then you've got the big 5 publishers. So you need to fit into their mold. One of those 5 has to be the right one, or they're never going to choose you, And that's most everybody. Most everybody never gets chosen.
Okay.
So that's why I got frustrated. I did have books that got to committee, but it's very. There are self-published books out there that are just as good or even better than what gets put out as, and they become bestsellers because they have the funds and the connections to back these projects and make them much bigger than an independent person could.
And do you think, no, sorry to interrupt you. You're going to say something?
Oh, I'm just saying that, you can go very far with self-publishing, and you can now with computers and internet and new ability to get your work out there. It's possible to go very far with self-publishing though. So.
Okay. And do you think that traditional publishing affects the authenticity of stories?
Oh, editors can change a lot of things.
Okay.
So yes, they could change the authenticity of it, but they can also help you refine what you're doing and make it better. So, because the authenticity often comes back to you, to the author.
Okay.
So I think, I think it depends on the story, and it depends on the editor involved, and that's very individual.
Yeah, because it gets me asking. I questioning a lot of things. If because I drafted a story about food. I just got curious about recipes and how similar recipes from different parts of the world are. And I thought, okay, why not put a book together for children, write a children's book and talk about these recipes. And then someone said to me, oh, if you have too many recipes in a book, it's going to be overwhelming. For children, just talk about one. And if I think about it, if I decide to talk about only one recipe, so this means I'm writing 20 books? Because let's say, because I just saw a book now, I haven't bought it yet, called, I would actually like to interview her, The Anti-Racist Kitchen. The Anti-Racist Kitchen, so it's this author, I think, who got together a group of authors to write about unique recipes unique to their cultures and their parts of the world. So they're all different stories, but in one book. So it's not just one story, and it got traditionally published. So so now it gets me thinking, okay, so why can't I write about different recipes in just one book? When somebody else has written, okay, it's a collection. Anyway, would you like to read any of your books to us?
Sure, we could read the Mazatlán.
Okay. So read that one, and I'll show photos.
Okay. So this one is As the Sun Rises, Morning in Mazatlán.
Okay.
Yes. Okay. Juan and I wake up in the dark. It is early morning in Mazatlán, and we are going with Papa to gather shellfish at the beach. Mama made us chilaquiles and mangoes for breakfast. As the sun begins to rise, we set out for Playa Bonita and help Papa carry his many things. We stamp on the wet sand, and the clams spit and let us know where they are. Then Papa digs them out and puts them in his bucket. Soon Papa moves on to gathering oysters. He uses a sharp knife, and it is too dangerous for us to help. Juan runs down the beach, chasing crabs that skitter across the sand. Juan, look! A massive sea turtle splashes at us by the rocks. I think she's waving. As the sun rises higher, the morning heats up. Groggy tourists find their spots on the beach by the hotels. Jolly music fills the air as the banda bands find people to play their music for. Miguel arrives with his fresh fruit to sell to people on the beach. Good morning, Miguel. Good morning, kids. We saw a sea turtle. Incredible. soon the hat vendor arrives with his tall tower of hats. He is amazing. Now Mario is here with his tray of pastries. The beach is starting to be a very busy place. Time to go. Excited, we help Papa with his bags of shellfish and head off the beach. Mama is making ceviche for lunch. And that's the end.
Oh, thank you. So are you working on anything new?
Oh yeah, like I said, I am wrapping up on the Lighthouse Cats of Mazatlán.
Okay.
And I am releasing the Andy's Adventures activity book. But, and I have several other projects that I've been working on. I have 2 comic book series that I keep up with.
Okay.
As well.
So what would you like to see for your books? What would you like to see happen to your books in the future?
My books are all about I just keep going. I would love for them to gain a wider audience. I'm doing okay though. 2 of my books, including this one, was on Storytime with Fergie and Friends.
Wow.
Sarah Ferguson's The Duchess of York's show, and she read it on her show, which was thrilling. This one and another one of my books. So I feel like I'm making progress, and I'm very happy with how things have been going lately, actually. I would like sales to increase. I'd like to get more in-person events. I went to San Diego Comic-Con and sold some of my books.
Okay.
And that was great.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Because I always like to ask authors what they hope to see for their books and what future they hope to see for their books, and how they think we can all come together as self-published authors too. How do you think we can do that?
Oh, well, this kind of thing is fantastic. The way you are reaching out to other authors and talking to them and bringing them on your show. And then there are things that I run a children's book review group online. Okay. If you do get a children's book out, you should join my group.
What's it called? Can you text it to me? Okay.
Yes, I can. And basically we review each other's books and we support each other online wherever we can. On Goodreads, on Amazon, all across the internet, and
Okay.
It's sort of a collective effort to help boost our visibility online, and I think things like that are helpful. I think that there's many Facebook groups that are helpful to people just doing this on their own, or going the traditional route. There's the Children's Book Illustrators group and the Kidlit what is it called? Kidlit 911? No, I can't remember the name of it.
Okay, you do send email to me.
Yeah, but it's on Facebook, and they have all kinds of information for people trying to get in traditional groups, and then organizations like the SCBWI.
Okay. Oh yes, I joined that. I just joined that recently. I also joined Canscape. Anyway, I just want to say a very big thank you, Caroline. Thank you so much for sending me your lovely books. If you have any great books, send them my way. I'll be happy to chat with you again. So thank you so much, Caroline. Have a great Saturday.
Oh, you too. Thank you.
All right.
Bye-bye.